You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 14th, 2023 regularly scheduled meeting of the Branford Inland Wetland and Watercourses Agency. Our purview is inland wetland and watercourses, and we operate under Connecticut General Statutes 22A-36 to 22A-45 inclusive, as well as the Town of Branford Inland Wetland and Watercourse regulations. Please note that this meeting will be held in accordance with Public Act 22-3, and all speakers will be required to identify their name and title each time they speak. Materials related to the agenda items can be found on the agency webpage or through the Dropbox. Please raise your hand if you would like to speak, and be sure that you're muted otherwise. My name is Commissioner Boda, and I will be acting as chair this evening. We will start with a roll call. Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begeman present.
Commissioner Glukowski.
Commissioner Goklowski present.
Commissioner Meinson.
Commissioner Meinson present.
Commissioner Ormrod.
Commissioner Ormrod present.
Are there any other commissioners? And Commissioner Boda present, and staff.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent present.
Katie Blanchett, Inland Wetland Associate present.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Boda. Jamie, are there any changes to the order of the agenda this evening?
It is my understanding that a party for 38 Howard has a conflict, a scheduling conflict, so I'd recommend that item 3A be tabled to be the first thing discussed under violations, so before 6A.
Okay. We don't need a motion for that, correct? To just move the item?
Yeah, I think if just general agreement to table it would be fine.
Okay. Anyone have any concerns about moving 3A to take place under item number 6? Okay, hearing none, we'll move that item. Any other changes to the agenda?
I just will note that the application under 2A, IW number 230702 38 Howard Ave, was withdrawn. So there will be any discussion regarding that item because it's no longer before the commission.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that being done, we'll move on to minutes for approval. We have October 12th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
This is Commissioner Begeman. We had, this is a revised version, so before asking for approval, Suzanne, I think you had wanted some time frame to be put into the 38 Howard Avenue. So are you satisfied with that?
This is Commissioner Boda. Yes, I am satisfied with the revisions. Thank you.
Okay. So this is Commissioner Begeman. I make a motion that we approve the regularly scheduled meeting minutes from October 12th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Goklowski second.
Okay, Glukowski has seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, let's take a vote. Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begelman, aye.
Commissioner Gluckowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Meinson,
Commissioner Meissen, aye.
Commissioner Omrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
and Commissioner Boda, aye. Okay, and moving on to November 9th, 2023, regular meeting minutes.
This is Commissioner Begelman. I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from Thursday, November 9th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Gokowski, second.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Okay, Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begelman, aye.
Commissioner Gluckowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Meinson,
Commissioner Meissen, aye.
Commissioner Omrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
and Commissioner Boda, aye. Okay, thank you. And so we've scratched item 2, we've moved item 3A, and so that brings us to 4A, which is Inland Wetland 23-1201, 25 to 29, and 31 to 33 Business Park Drive. Removal of debris and drainage swale or water course. Jamie, would you care to set the stage for us for this item?
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. This application was, I believe, submitted this week or late last week. It's submitted in response to some drainage concerns that have been raised to the town and the potential that some debris in the water course is causing it to block up and not function in its capacity as also a drainage swale. So at this point, the application has been submitted and generally has the information I expect the commission is going to want to see. One outstanding item is the applicant has requested a fee reduction, kind of in consideration of the fact that what they're looking to do is maintenance of the drainage function in the water course. So that is something that I think the commission should try and address this evening. So that way the applicant knows whether the application fee they've submitted is sufficient or if they have to submit additional funds. The activity is in a water course, so it would have to be reviewed by the commission. It cannot be an agent review. I did look at the as of right sections, thinking that this project might fall under that, and I couldn't find anything that I thought it fell under. I don't know if the commission remembers, but a while back we did have a request from Regional Water Authority, and that request was reviewed within their capacity of being a water company. So it wouldn't apply in this particular scenario. So I guess what I will do is start off by showing everyone a GIS map of the general area, and then I can either go over the plan or hand it over to the applicant. And while I'm pulling up that map, we also did get a letter from the town engineering department in regards to concerns and complaints that have been received in regards to that drainage concern. So, screen share.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Boda. Can you clarify so you said the folks had reached out to the town engineer. Can you indicate the nature of what they
Sure.
were
So yeah, that's
requesting?
where I think this GIS map is going to be helpful. Is everyone seeing an aerial image with some blue lines on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the application pertains to these two parcels identified as 31 Business Park Drive and 25 Business Park Drive. You can see we have a wetland delineation to the north, and this drainage starts where this blue line outlets at this green dot, and it goes around and north and ultimately up to the Branford River. So the concern is that water is not fully draining from this pipe system here, and it's causing backup, particularly at 6 Business Park Drive. I'm not sure if it's causing other issues, but I know of that one in particular. So the state has come in and has cleared the portion that's within their right of way for 95. And what the applicant is looking to do is to continue that work behind on the westward side of 25 Business Park and 31 Business Park. It's my understanding that this section of the water course / drainage ditch adjacent to where Planet Fitness is already in pretty good shape and probably doesn't need any work done. So that's kind of the general area and the concern relative to the drainage. And basically this entire area ultimately ends up draining into this water course drainage ditch system and under Route 1. So it's a lot of water that's going through there. And I jump over to the site plan, which is really just kind of a site plan of the overall development, showing the build out as of October 10th, 2018. But it does show, so you can see down here in the Connecticut right of way, identifies drainage ditch. The state did clean out this section here, even though it looks like it's on private property. And then here's the drainage ditch going northerly that still needs to be cleaned out. And I'm just going to jump back to the GIS map real quick because I have another page. On the second page, you can see some contour information. So you can see that the water course is has a bit more of a wetland complex adjacent to it, in between 95 and the commercial park development. And then when it gets to this western extent, it gets kind of squished up against the railroad tracks that run through here and the development. So it's really a steep bank on both sides, and it's a defined channel the entire way. So I think I am going to hop over to the photos I took, and then I'll hand it over to the applicant to add any additional information unless commissioners have questions. So these first couple of pictures are the water course area that the state has already cleaned out. So you can see the state has already come in here and kind of moved some of the woody debris to the side. Just for clarification for some of our newer commissioners, any activity, state property done by state agency is not regulated by local agent. The Inland Wetland Commission is regulated by the state, so it's outside of the jurisdiction of the commission. And so here you can see a little bit of that neighboring wetland complex I was talking about, and 95 is back here. So this is kind of the extent of activity that they're looking to do around the corner, which is why I thought it was helpful to go take a look at the activity that has occurred by the state. So there were a couple of places where they brought in the equipment to be able to reach in. And my recommendation to the applicant for the pending application would be to focus those areas on places where there's invasives so that they're removing, any impact to vegetation would be vegetation that we wouldn't really ideally want to see there. I believe they also plan on doing it during the winter to minimize impact while things are kind of in a dormant state. So this is a really hard picture to see because you can see that there's some vegetation on the bank, but if you look closely, you can see that there's an obstruction in the water course that's clearly piling up debris and sediment. So that's one example of where they're looking to clear out to help promote flow. I think this is the same spot with trying to get a better picture and it didn't work. Another example, and some of it, I think there's like one place where there's like a sheet of metal that was holding up debris. So some of the debris is anthropogenic and some of it's woody.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, you're saying the state came in and cleaned out the area, but what did they do? Just take the debris and put it on the bank of the water course?
That's what it looks like they did.
And so I'm understanding that the applicant has the application in to clean up the banks that the state put the debris on. Is that?
No, so the part that's been cleaned up by the state is done. What the applicant is looking to do is something similar, although they have indicated that they would rather remove any debris like that, which I think makes sense, particularly given, so that this is a little bit different than where the state did their work in the sense that it's a steep bank on each side. So placing the woody debris on the bank is going to impact the vegetation that's growing on the bank and stabilizing the bank. So if there's a spot where they could put it and not worry about it rolling or, causing a problem again, I think they would do that. Otherwise, their intention would be to, if they need to break it up into smaller pieces to get it out, take it out entirely. So that way it's not negatively impacting the bank or being a problem they have to fix again, the following year or two. And the applicant can speak more to that. But before I hand it over, this is kind of the last spot. And as you can see, there's some debris that's kind of fallen over the water course, and there's a lot of briars growing on it. So that's definitely going to be a problem if it's not addressed. So those are kind of examples of what they're looking to address. So any more questions from the commission before I hand it over to the applicant? Not hearing any. Mr.
So
Leprey,
this-
do you have anything?
And
you'd
just
like-
this is Commissioner Boda, just a reminder, this is for receipt, so it's not actionable this evening, although as Jamie started with, we should discuss the request for the fee reduction.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe Lepre, JDL Construction. I'm representing the owners, Business Park Realty. As Jamie has said, this subject has been brought up to us recently from the town engineer, for starters, about some drainage problems. The owner is actually being proactive in this, whereas he understands that it's been 40 plus years since this has been built, and over the course of time, trees and debris have fallen into this watercourse area. Jamie met me out there, and we've discussed it. It's not a tremendous amount of work in it's just a spotty in some areas. The area between Planet Fitness and the corner of Building 33 may require a little more work than the rest of it. But mostly what we figure is, as she stated, we're going to try to do this when it's frozen, which would be the best time to do it. That's why our application's in now. We're going to be using a mechanical thumb on the machine so that we could pick it out, pick the debris out, and probably have manpower in the actual stream if needed to wrap chains to pull some of this stuff out if need be. Trying not to disturb any of the ground, and especially not doing any kind of dredging or anything, just looking to take the stuff that's impeding on the water flow out of the area right now.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, you mentioned the briars the thorns that are overgrowing. Are you suggesting that those be removed as well?
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. I think in the sense that it's causing a blockage, I think it needs to be kind of opened up, and I think that will happen. It will be maintained by removing the debris that they're growing over. So the debris they're growing on is what's really the problem, but they're adding to the problem by making that blockage or that potential blockage larger, and so more things can get caught on it, and it's causing more issues for the flow through there. So I'm going to pull up the fee reduction letter, and I think it would at least be good for the commission to assess whether they give the applicant a feedback on whether this is likely to be considered. So requesting a fee reduction, 1 More specifically, the application submitted is for general maintenance to a drainage ditch, which was created long before this regulatory agency had jurisdiction and results in a long-term protection of the environmental resource. As the waterway is a small part of a larger system, having an established protocol for maintaining the flow of the water will have substantial public benefit to not only the environment, but also public health and safety, as it will prevent flooding to the neighboring facilities and residences. Additionally, it is our feeling that the fee is clearly excessive in relation to the maintenance work proposed, as there is no new construction activity proposed, which would disturb soils as part of the application. This should minimize the town's cost to review and process the application. In closing, the applicant's efforts to clear the drainage way of debris is a display of good land stewardship, and as such, we would appreciate the town's support with this endeavor.
Questions or comments from the commission?
It looks like the applicant has their hand raised, just so you know.
Thank you. Mr. Lepre, go ahead.
Again, Joe Lepre, JDL Construction. One thing I would like to say is the owners basically are doing this. They're not forced to do this at this point. So that's one of the reasons too. We were kind of hoping for a fee reduction because they're willing to, accept the total cost on this to maintain it. They realize that it hasn't been maintained since they built it. But we were hoping for the fee reduction based upon the fact that, they're willing to accept the entire cost.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I think it would be consistent with the commission's past practice to consider a fee reduction in this scenario, which is part of why I suggested the route of submitting the $60 deep fee and seeing what the commission thought regarding the fee reduction request. So unless the commission would be more comfortable fully reviewing the application file before making a decision.
Commissioner Goklowski, I don't think what the applicant is asking for is totally unreasonable. They're trying to correct the situation based on the pictures that I've seen. I didn't walk the land, but you did, Jamie. So I would be under the assumption that when the state came in to clear that area, they just moved the debris from the waterway to the side, which created more, instead of taking it away, created more of a havoc. But in this particular case, the applicant is willing to, going forward, maintain this on a regular basis, so we wouldn't have this situation crop up again. That we won't be sitting here looking at an application. They'll be on a regular scheduled maintenance.
So this is Commissioner Boda. I think something to consider. Generally, when we can, the function of the fees is to ensure that any applications that the property owner or the folks doing the work are paying for town staff and town time that needs to be spent monitoring. And so the question is really to Jamie and Katie, what are we looking at in terms of your time monitoring, and what I guess maybe the original question is, what is the fee calculated at currently, and what would be sufficient for your time?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So my computer's not working, of course. So the fee calculated based on the areas of disturbance that were provided on the application form would be $2,260, including the $60 deep fee that's been submitted. So I also just want to share with the commission real quick, section 19.7, which is the regulatory reasons for granting a fee reduction. So screen share. So there's essentially 3 reasons. The agency may waive all or part of the application fee if the agency determines that A, the activity applied for would clearly result in a substantial public benefit to the environment or to the public health and safety, and that the applicant would be reasonably deterred from initiating the activity solely or primarily as a result of the amount of the application fee. Or B, the amount of the application fee is clearly excessive in relation to the cost to the town for reviewing and processing the application, and C, the applicant has shown good cause. So to get back to the question of cost, for reviewing and monitoring, that's kind of hard to say, and I guess I have two points in follow up to that. The commission has had a past practice of waiving the application fee down to the deep fee for projects that are, invasive species management, and those require a lot of time from staff to follow up and review on. So I don't think the amount of time staff is spending on review is necessarily quite as relevant necessarily, or is definitely not the sole consideration when considering a fee reduction. And then I guess the other point, which Commissioner Golkowski kind of spoke to, is I think the intent of this application is to not only, put forth cleaning out the water course now, but a process for maintaining it long term. So, I mean, in that sense, it could potentially be an ongoing process. So if you wanted more of an actual number, I would say I would have to get back to you for the next meeting.
This is Commissioner Boda. So if you keep that screen up for a moment, given the regulations, Commissioner Golkowski has shared, are there other commissioners that would like to weigh in on this topic?
Commissioner Begeman, I think that the request for they requested a waiver, but at least a big reduction is, I think it's reasonable. The dollar amount, I don't know, and I would leave that up to Jamie with further consideration at the next meeting.
Other commissioners that agree, think differently?
Commissioner Meinson, I agree with that.
Okay.
Commissioner Golkowski, one point I'd like to make out. May I ask the applicant a question?
Yes.
Joe, when did you want to commence doing this work?
Well, that was, again, Joe Lepre, JDL Construction. That's one of the reasons why we're here today, is because, we're hoping to do this in the next few months. Obviously, we want to do this before April, because then it'll be really soft over there. So the least amount of impact will be grabbing this during like a frozen period, which, would be ideal in February and early March, or late January. The way the weather's going, who knows? But we will eventually get cold weather. And that would be the ideal time to do the least amount of, of damage to anything, because everything will be frozen.
Okay. Thank you. This is Commissioner Boda. I think this item isn't actionable tonight anyway. I think, Jamie, if you would give an estimate for what it might cost for your or Katie's following up. It does, to me, sound like a good project, something that is helpful to the town. We also want to balance the good with making sure that that work is not necessarily being put on the taxpayers of the town. And so let's find out from Jamie an estimate and see what we can do next meeting, unless there are any other questions about the application tonight that need to be addressed, that you might want Mr. Lepre to bring additional information.
Are you asking me or the commissioners?
The commissioners.
Clarifying.
And or Jamie, go ahead. Do you have another thought?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I'll just also add to that, if no one's speaking up right now, if you see something when if you're looking through the application materials, that you think's missing from the application, feel free to send me an email and I can follow up with the applicant. Just don't CC the commission.
All right, hearing nothing, this will be continued at our January meeting,
January 11th.
January 11th. Thank you, Mr. Lepre. All right, so continuing on to inland wetland applications for review, inland wetland 230901. 329 East Main Street, aka 325 East Main Street, mixed use residential development.
Evening, Madam Chair. My name is John Nuff.
Excuse me, Mr. Nuff, Attorney Nuff, just hold on one moment. Jamie, do you want to set us up for this or you want to hand it straight over?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I'll take the easy way out and hand it over.
All right.
That's okay.
Attorney Nuff, you're up.
She has certainly earned that privilege. For the record, my name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 135 Broad Street in Milford, and here tonight on behalf of the applicants. You'll recall that we had submitted the application in September when it was received. We made some changes to the plan as a result of discussions with neighbors. Last meeting, I think we're pretty close to being done, but I know it was a very late night for all of you. And so there was a few things that we needed to cover. We have submitted revised plans, and because of some of the revisions to the path sites, our engineer, John Schmitz, was able to find another 1,000 square feet of impervious surface that he can remove to make it pervious. And there's a few other sort of smaller details that he can run through with you. But Jamie was kind enough to get us her staff report shortly after we submitted the revised drawings. And we're very appreciative of how responsive she is to all of our comments and emails and everything else. So with that, and let me turn it over to John Schmitz. He can walk you through some of these minor changes and the answers to the comments that you and Jamie had raised at the last.
Hi, good evening. This is John Schmitz, civil engineer with BL Companies, 355 Research Parkway. I'm just going to share screen here, and I can walk you through the updates. So, does everybody see the rendered site plan? Okay.
Yep.
So, one of the items that came up during the last meeting was a knee wall that we were proposing to the rear of the residential building along the highway entrance ramp. We proposed to put in a small wall along the length of that building. Also, it parallels the wetlands that parallel the property line there. That was originally put in at the request of the fire marshal, who wanted to make sure that there was a level area to the back of the building where firemen could walk and put up a ladder against the building if they needed to do that. And so that was on the plans, but there were some questions among commissioners, I think, about what that actually would look like. And so we provided some details, and I'll just show you. This is one of the details that we had submitted as an exhibit, just showing what that wall would look like. Again, approximately 14 feet from the face of the building would be a wall about 2 feet high, and then it would continue to slope down to the existing fence that's on the property line. The wetlands are to the other side of the fence. So again, what this does is it levels out the area behind the building so that the firefighters can get back there and have a level area again there. So again, the wall approximately 2 feet high, and we did provide another detail. This is just a typical detail from the manufacturer, just showing the actual construction of the walls. Obviously, this one, in this case, would be a much taller wall, but just kind of indicates how the actual wall is installed with some geogrid fabric, some stone behind it, drainage, a bedding pad. It's just kind of a typical installation. But again, our installation is much smaller. It's only about a 2 foot high wall at its highest point. Attorney Nuff also referenced the restaurant pad, and I'll just go back and talk a little bit about that. As you recall, there was always a restaurant here in along the Post Road at this location. There was a drive-through coffee shop, and then there was another restaurant. The restaurant has been swapped out to be a medical office building, almost like an urgent care type facility. And the drive-through has been reoriented along Post Road in this location here. You can see as it rotates around with the bypass lane. And as a result of the reconfiguring of this space, obviously some of it is in the wetland buffer. That's this line here. As a result of that, we've actually added another 1,000 square feet of green space. So that brings the total amount of new green space onto the site to 46,000 square feet compared to what's out there today. So again, that translates into less runoff, less peak runoff, less volume overall. And then I think the only other item, two other items actually. One is the O&M plan. We've been asked to just provide a quick update to the operations and maintenance plan. What we did there was just update the narrative section of that, where the previous plan incorrectly referenced the number of residential units. So we updated that section of the O&M manual and resubmitted that. And just lastly, we're still kind of in discussions with the city engineer and WPCA regarding preferred access to the existing sanitary pump station that's down at this location. There was some discussion about how they could get there. We're currently providing access to that station. There's access there today, but we're trying to work with the town engineer as well as WPCA superintendent to come up with a better solution to that. And that involved potentially moving some of these curb lines and parking spaces around just to provide quicker access. And we're currently waiting on a response for that, but it doesn't really change the drainage at all or the grading. Everything would be the same. The pump station remains the same as it is today. And we're just talking about how they access it, how they drive in. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it for changes to the plan since the last time you saw it. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the commission?
This is Commissioner Begemon. So the drainage for the east facing part with the 2-foot wall, the drainage goes, the seepage goes out of that wall onto the grass that's past it and then into those drains that are already there, or
Right. So today, you see here, we have a dashed line. Again, John Schmitz with BL. There's a dashed line here kind of representing the existing grade. And as you recall, today there's a parking lot here.
Right.
When water hits the slope, it runs down the slope through the fence into the wetlands. The same thing will happen under the proposed condition. So obviously there's now a building here. Water runoff would land here, would run down the slope over the face of the wall, and then again down the slope into the wetlands. The area is more or less the same there today. It's still going to be green space. That water still would run down. It just would go, in this case, over the top of the wall.
This is Commissioner Boda. Is there, so at the base of the wall where the water overtops, what prevents that from eroding as the water hits the surface, as it drops off? I know it's not a huge drop, but.
Right. So, well, there's two things. Bear in mind, this is only 14 linear feet across from the building. So it's not a river. It's not a waterfall. It would be water that, some of the water obviously is, the area would be grassed. So some of the water is going to infiltrate into the ground, and what doesn't infiltrate, what runs off, would come over and drip off the side of the wall and down here. So this would all be maintained as grass. So there's vegetation that helps to keep soil from eroding.
Thank you.
And the slopes are relatively, I don't want to say level, but they're not very steep slopes. So the velocity would be very low.
And this is Commissioner Begemon. So the roof, the water coming off the roof is going elsewhere. That's going into,
That's correct. So there would be downspouts and header pipes that collect roof water that's not discharged at this location. That would be tied into the storm system.
Commissioner Begemon again. So that where the parking lot used to be, which is now kind of the exterior wall of the building, that's where the storm drains used to be, right up.
Yeah, that's this gray line here. You see all the parking spaces.
Yeah.
That's a catch basin today. There's another catch basin there. So you can see where the existing edge of impervious surface is today. So we're actually pulling, the building will be 5 feet or so back from that. So we're actually adding green space closer to the wetlands all along the building.
Commissioner Begemon. So those storm basins that are there now are being removed?
That's correct.
Okay. And the reason they can be removed is because the runoff from the parking lot is no longer there, and the roof runoff is being handled in a different way with the downspouts in. Okay,
Yes, that's correct.
thank you.
This is Commissioner Ormrod. I had a question about, I believe there were, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the prior to discharging, there are 3 outfalls that are currently used, and those are going to remain. And prior to discharging, that stormwater, it reaches an like an interceptor, stormwater interceptor. Are there any devices that mitigate, release leaking car fluids, oil, in any of these stormwater catch basins or discharge outlets?
So the answer is yes. There are 3 separators.
Mr. Schmidt, just make sure you restate your name.
Yes, apologize. Sure, John Schmitz with BL. There, at each of the 3 outlets, there is a sedimentation structure, a control structure that separates out sediment and oils. And so there's what it does is as the runoff. Well, first of all, back up a little bit. At each catch basin, there's a sump in the catch basin. So heavy particles, heavy metals, larger particles fall out of the runoff and end up in the sump. So sumps are the area of the catch basin that are below the pipe. So there's storage there in each catch basin. Beyond that, water that runs through the system, the collection system, and gets to the hydrodynamic separator, that runoff is then further cleaned through the separator process with swirling concentration. Additional sediment is dropped out, and then floatables, cups, bottles, cans, and then oils that are on the surface are also separated out because they float on top. And then the water, the clean water, is passed through at a lower elevation. So there is mechanics in all 3 of the units to separate out oils and as well as floatables.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Begemon again. In the report from 2022, when they looked at all the catch basins and to check to see if they were in good working order, there were like 5 of them that said high water level, and I don't know what the significance of that is. Does somebody know what that significance is and whether that was taken into account, if it is significant for managing the water runoff?
So what that's referring to is, again, when they were inspected on whatever given day it was, and I don't know, for instance, was there a rainstorm the week before or the day before? But what that means is there's standing water in the structure.
Right.
In most every structure, you would find some water. Obviously, like I mentioned, the sump. Typically, water would be in the sump up until the pipe So you may have a foot or two of standing water in each. I think what that was referring to in the picture was that there was water above the sump and in the pipe. What that refers to is that there's what we consider a backwater condition, right? So that means that as the water, say at the outlet pipe, water would be backing up from the outlet pipe into the system. So there's standing water that's in the system at that point in time. And it's not a function of that it's not working properly. It's just kind of a snapshot in time that at that point there was standing water in the pipes. I think they were just noting the fact that there was a backwater condition on that given day.
Yes, Commissioner Begemon, thank you for the answer.
Additional questions from the commission?
Commissioner Ormerod, I had another question regarding the, typically these drive-through restaurants, there's a lot of refuse, trash. Are they responsible for maintaining their property, the drive-through area? I assume that's all under the responsibility of the tenant.
That's correct. Yes.
Commissioner Ormerod, this is Commissioner Boda. So in the past, we have put in conditions for approval with things that are, whether it's like homeowner association or things that are going to be passed on to the tenant or additional future homeowner, whatever it is, within the maintenance plan, certain requirements. And so that's certainly something that, we can look at to include, if that is not part of the maintenance plan that is passed on to whoever the tenants are gonna be.
And I'm sorry for interrupting, Madam Chair. This is John Nuff. So the way this is worked, there will be a declaration of easements so that everything that you're discussing, stormwater, that's obviously our primary concern, but utilities would all be shared. And so that there would be the opportunity. So for instance, if someone comes onto the property who is going to the apartment, they have the right to pass over the parcel that might be the self-storage building. But the same thing is going to take place with regard to the stormwater maintenance, is that they're all going to share in the obligation and responsibilities to maintain those. Because obviously the water doesn't follow the property lines or subdivision lines, and so each property owner will be responsible separately and together for the maintenance of the entire system.
Commissioner Boda, do you know if in the declaration of easements, if there is language regarding, I suppose, the management of loose refuse?
I think that would be a function of the lease with that restaurant. I think as a practical matter, I think most of that area where there might be some napkins or papers or anyway floating around, the area near the wetlands is fenced. That obviously would be an opportunity to stop that debris from getting into any wetland. And Judge Smith can correct me if I'm wrong on that. So that would, so first of all, they would be obligated to maintain the appearance of the site, including picking up debris. Should any debris, not get policed properly, it would be caught by a fence, where it would be having that opportunity. If something should get into the stormwater system, then there's the stormwater maintenance obligation that would run the land in the same way that the property owner currently has to file their maintenance logs. We would still have to follow that exact same process, so that you have several tiers of protection to ensure that debris isn't getting into.
Commissioner Goklowski, this is going to be solely owned by one corporation, or is it going to be are these apartments going to be condominiumized, or
No, the apartments will be on its own parcel. The restaurant and urgent care facility would be on a separate parcel. The self-storage building would be on a separate parcel, but that's where that declaration of easements comes in and is, you know, important not only for the so that the four different property owners get along and understand what their obligations are, but for the town to ensure that things that it cares about, like the stormwater maintenance, is being taken care of. I mean, if the commission wanted a condition of approval that we had to submit a copy or a draft of the declaration of easement as you know, once that gets drafted as a condition of approval before they would issue the permit or before we could commence work, I mean, we would have no issue with it. And let just be clear. I mean, I don't want to try to provide that before the next meeting, because we're very much hoping for an approval this evening. But if we submit that before any work could commence, we'd be happy to accept that condition.
Jamie, Frederick,
This
and
is Commissioner, maybe we're about to say the same thing.
I was just gonna say that I kind of was aware that this was something it sounded like they wanted to do, so I did draft a condition that kind of addresses this, and it could certainly be adjusted, you know, based on any concerns the commission may have.
And this is Commissioner Boda, just for the commission as a reminder. This is up for decision this evening. We could ask for an extension, but we are at the end of our regular time.
This is Commissioner Begemon. So I'm looking through the plans I have, and maybe it was addressed last meeting, maybe it's on a plan, but what is happening with the roof runoff? I don't see anything in the drawings that talks about where the water is going.
Right.
Okay, this is John Schmitz with BL. Just give me a moment. I will find the drawing and bring it up to share. Okay, thank you for your patience. The plan that you're looking at is the last plan that was submitted. This is GD1. It's the grading and drainage plan. Again, this is John Schmidt. So what we've done here is to provide a plan. I'll see if I can highlight it for you. This is a roof leader line at this location tying into the system here. So this is meant to take roof drains from the building that would be around the building. So typically, you would have a header pipe. So there's two instances. There's any internal roof drains that the architecture would provide as they design their drawings. We then tie that into our system. We've at this point, we're anticipating it would come out at this location. I mean, it potentially could come out here and go in there. Depends when the architect finally finalizes their plans at the time of building permit. But for now, we've accounted for that flow into this system, and that's where the connection we're anticipating will be.
Commissioner Begeman, did that address your question, concern?
Yes, can you show us, there's that little water course in the lower right-hand part of the property, right? Somewhere in there. And that's where there's a discharge there.
Again, John Schmitz, let me just highlight that. It's on the same plan here. I think this is the water course where it's noted on the survey. That basically deeming it a water course coming out of, again, this is a flared end. This is an existing outlet. You can see these manholes here represent the existing separator there. And so, yes, the wetland scientists flagged that short little section as a water course. I believe because it met the definition of a water course with a defined channel from the outlet.
And by the way, he's with us this evening. If you'd like to hear from him, seconds. This is John Nuff.
Commissioner Begum, that answered my question. Thank you.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I just want to mention that Commissioner Papatones has joined the meeting. She is the sixth commissioner present, so I would, she would be seated for any further business.
Thank you, Jamie. Welcome, Commissioner Papantonis.
I apologize for being late. I had a prior commitment.
All right, we're happy you're here. Commissioner Boda, are there additional questions from the commission? Hearing none, I'm wondering if the commission would like to talk about making a decision tonight. I know that in the Dropbox, there is a staff report. I don't know if Jamie, you want to highlight anything particular in there?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Before we hop over to the staff report, since I do have a condition that kind of addresses that sewer pump station access, I'm just going to share a sketch that was submitted to kind of address that. And this is what the engineer was talking about, is being reviewed by other town personnel to see if it would be acceptable. So this is the movie theater to be converted to self-storage, and the modification would be to extend this to provide access to the pump station, which is the highlight in green, and the yellow highlight is where there's a bit of deviation from the plan that is before the commission now. So it is a pretty minor change, and it looks like it's pretty much a swap as far as impervious. Of course, I don't have the ideal plan to show you, but this is the current configuration with some parking spaces, and it's not connected. So it's pretty minor, and I think that as long as the commission was okay with that being reviewed administratively, that wouldn't be something I think would be inappropriate.
And again, this is John Schmitz with BL. One of the reasons why we had proposed this as an alternative was because it maintains the existing driveway. So if they were accessing the pump station today, they would come down behind the theater and drive right up to the pump station. And so it seemed reasonable to maintain the existing access and existing road to the station. And that's kind of how we arrived at this sketch plan.
So unless commissioners have any other questions, I'll pull up the staff report. So hopefully people got a chance to take a look at the staff report before the meeting. If not, I think I'm going to skip kind of going into all of the weeds and details of the first part of the staff report, unless there's any questions. Essentially, and jump to the possible conditions for consideration. Is that all right with everyone? Or if people are not in their heads, I can't see you because I'm screen sharing.
Commissioner Rogers, does anybody have any concerns about jumping there now?
I think we've kind of hashed through a lot of the things that were summarized above. So otherwise, I would. Okay, so hearing none, we can always jump back if need be. So the conditions that I've kind of highlighted for consideration are the standard inspections that would apply to the subject application, pre-construction meeting, initial erosion control, stormwater drainage structure, pre-planting, planting inspection, which is post-planting, and final inspection. Number 2 pertains to what we were just looking at. Should the plans be revised to address the town engineer's comments regarding pump station access? See comment letter with attached sketch plan, which was the plan we were just looking at. The duly authorized agent may review those changes unless they determine the change is significant enough to require agency review in case, it gets changed significantly or whatever. 3, a bond shall be submitted to cover proper installation and maintenance of the proposed erosion control measures. Engineer shall submit itemized bond to be reviewed by an inland agent and submitted prior to start of work. Bond in place until the site is stabilized and both the as-built survey documenting compliance with the permit and certification of final cleaning of the stormwater system has been received. Upon clearing of the site until the site is stabilized, the applicant shall retain a qualified professional to inspect the erosion controls and sediment controls and provide written reports weekly and after each measurable precipitation event of a 1/4 inch or greater. Everything should be marked out by the surveyor, and final certification, of grading a stormwater system on site shall be submitted upon completion project. I'm kind of paraphrasing there. Certification that final cleaning of the stormwater system occurred after completion of construction shall be submitted to the IW agency. As the stormwater maintenance is, as stormwater maintenance is an integral component of the provided stormwater treatment, copies of the stormwater maintenance records as indicated in the stormwater system operation and maintenance plan shall be submitted to the agency on an annual basis to document compliance with the permit. Email submission is okay to reduce paper use. So condition of the prior approval for the site also had that requirement. And with digital submission, something they're doing annually anyways, it just kind of makes sense to provide confidence that the system is continuing to be maintained and will function as designed. And then 8 speaks to what we were talking about earlier. To ensure uninterrupted maintenance of the system prior to any future division of the subject parcel, a revised stormwater system operation and maintenance plan shall be submitted to clearly document which property owners are responsible for maintenance of all components of the stormwater system. And then the last one is based off of recent state statute changes that essentially the permit does not take effect until all applicable zoning approvals have been issued. And then the standard conditions and general provisions of all permits. So as always, this is a starting place. You can add, remove, throw out, start over, modify.
And by the way, we have no objection to any of this.
This is Commissioner Boda. Initial thoughts on the staff report, the possible conditions of approval, given the discussion that we've had.
This Commissioner Bagman, it looks to me like it's pretty complete. I'd be willing to make a motion if there's no other discussion.
This is Commissioner Boda. I'm just wondering about, Jamie, if you go back to number 8. So you referenced the stormwater operation and maintenance plan, and Attorney Nuff referenced the declaration of easement, and I'm wondering if and the possible submission of that as a condition of approval, just to make sure that that are the needs are met of protecting the wetland.
Right, so, John Nuff, we can tie that to condition number one is that, there must be a pre-construction meeting. Maybe at that meeting or some other benchmark in time that before any work commences, you need to supply for the agency review a copy of that declaration of easements.
Jamie Frederick and the Wilton agent, do you know what mechanism you would be using to divide the parcel?
Yeah, so when we submit our applications to zoning, there's going to be a subdivision application.
Okay. So the subdivision application requires referral to the commission. The commission will have already looked at the regulated activity, but it would be an opportunity for the commission to look at that kind of information, I think.
Yeah, I guess, Jamie, the issue is that I don't think we're going to have that drafted at the time the subdivision is being considered.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we're happy to, add to condition number 8 that we supply that, for the commencement of any work.
Yeah. So I guess number 8 could be prior to any site work or future division. Or we could just say prior to site work, knowing that you're looking to divide it. To ensure uninterrupted maintenance of the system prior to any site work, a revised stormwater operation maintenance plan and declaration of easement shall be submitted to clearly document which property owners are responsible for maintenance of all components of the stormwater system.
And then, I mean, it's going to be all of them, but I think that's fine.
This is Commissioner Boda. So, Katie, do you have the additional language captured? As I think Commissioner Begeman is ready to make a motion, and I don't know, Commissioner Begeman, if you captured that, but that was a very succinct addition to number 8.
Commissioner
I got
Begeman, Mike, so for number 8, prior to any future division was eliminated, or was the prior to any site work added and prior to any future division?
Well, so just to be clear, done enough. I mean, the division will occur upon the approval of the subdivision. I think, but that could be this spring. The work probably won't begin under the best case scenario until later this summer. So I think it's appropriate that we provide the declaration or the agency's approval prior to the commencement of any site.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent, I agree. So it would be replacing any future division of the subject parcel with prior to any site work. And then adding in the declaration of easement. And I would say we wouldn't necessarily need a whole copy of the stormwater maintenance plan, just the portion that's relevant, or even potential. I don't want to make this more complicated than it is, so I'll leave it.
I understand that this is somewhat unusual for perhaps this agency. That doesn't happen very often in Branford, but I mean, this is not uncommon, in projects throughout the state have this obligation, because obviously, property owners, sharing utilities, whether it's the parking lot or drainage or lighting or any of those things, the service of water, they all want to ensure that they're going to be that they're going to have access to all those things. So this is a very run-of-the-mill type of document that property owners are are, accustomed to signing and complying with.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, just to maybe clarify. So the declaration of easement document would include the stormwater system and the
Yep.
responsibilities of the stormwater system, correct?
Correct.
So I think you could possibly replace a revised stormwater system operation and maintenance plan with the declaration of easements, because that's really what the commission is looking for.
Yeah, and obviously the declaration is going to reference that maintenance plan.
Yeah.
This is Commissioner Boda, so otherwise we're ready to move ahead. I'm gonna take silence as a yes. Commissioner Begeman,
All right, this is Commissioner Begeman. I make a motion that we approve in the wetlands 23, 230901, 329 AKA 325 East Main Street. There's some other name to it. I think that's it. With the possible conditions of the staff report, which is a revised date 12/11/23, with a change in number 8. Can you scroll down, Jamie? So in the possible conditions, number 8 would read, to ensure uninterrupted maintenance of the system, declaration of easements will be provided to the Inland Wetland Agency prior to any site work. And it will include all the standard conditions and general provisions of all permits.
thank you, Commissioner Begeman. Is there a second?
Commissioner Ormrod, I'll second that.
And Armrod, second. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Glukowski,
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Meinson,
Commissioner Meinson, aye.
Commissioner Ormrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Since I wasn't here for most of this, Commissioner Papantonis abstains.
And Commissioner Boda, aye. Motion carries. Thank you for the application and for taking a site and improving it. It's always nice when we get applications that help improve our water quality in the town, especially when it's on such a large parcel.
Well, thank you very much. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday. And I do. And by the way, I was completely candid before. I mean, Jamie really is terrific. She's incredibly responsive. Those of you who only get to deal with her know how good she is. But those of us who deal with wetland agents across the state really appreciate when someone's on top of things the way that she is. So I think you should all know that. Have a great evening.
We'll vote for a raise if we get a vote.
Don't waive those fees. Just kidding. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Boda, moving on. Inland Wetland 23.10.02, 35 Beechwood Road, patio, hot tub, outdoor grill, fireplace, and replacement shed. Jamie, would you care to set us up?
Sure. Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. So at the last meeting, there was a bit of discussion about whether or not a survey was required, and ultimately it was determined that the level of site plan provided was okay as long as the wetland flags that were recently flagged were added to it. So we have an updated plan showing that, also showing the plantings to address the stormwater quality from runoff from the increased patio area. So without further ado and confusing you without showing you a plan, I will bring up the site plan for you. Okay, so 35 Beechwood, single family residence. There's an existing pool and patio. I don't know if you can see it. There's a, let me scroll line here kind of indicating the existing patio, and they're looking to enlarge it slightly. There was a deck pergola approved to the rear back here, approximately from here over, which has been removed in anticipation of this project. So they're looking to replace that with a patio and some additional features and expand it a little bit for the hot tub. And looking to replace a shed that was, I believe, 10 by 12. Yes, 10 by 12 with a 20 by 12 shed. They were proposing artificial turf over here, which has been removed. It's now proposed to be lawn. And I believe that the homeowner is present and is maybe, honestly, I'm not sure who's here, but I was expecting them to be here.
Jamie, Vinny.
We have someone from
35 Beechwood Road. I'm here. I don't know if you could hear me. I don't know how to work this.
Yes,
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Can you just say your name, please?
Yeah, Vincent Bevilacqua, 35 Beechwood Road, Branford.
Do you have any of your professionals with you or no?
No, I didn't know they had to be
Okay.
on here.
They don't necessarily have to be, but if they were, I would let them.
Yeah, I thought it was
Let them
pretty
do more of
explanatory.
the presentation.
I just remember last time the guy basically said, hey, if you remove the turf, that was really the big, hey, what is this stuff? Any PFAS, any, it looks, if you take that out, it looks pretty much like you're doing the same thing that you had. You're just putting a roof on. And if you get the plantings done, it was pretty much, looked like it was a go. It was just take the turf out and resubmit the plan.
So yeah, I'll just kind of go a little bit more in detail along what I was already saying. So really, the only other thing I think to go over is the planting plan. So I'll move it so that everyone can see that. So just to remind everyone, the question with the wetland line was the wetland line from before the subdivision went in to when the foundation as-built was done moved, and it wasn't clear to in our records why, whether it was because of a difference in actual situation or if it was a drawing error. So as part of this application, given this proximity to the wetland, a new wetland flagging was done. Those flags were picked up and added to the plan. And I did take photos, which I think I shared last time, and I can pull up again if the commission wants. But the flagging generally kind of aligns with where the rear fence is. There's a chain link fence. Some of the flags are a little bit over, and some of them are kind of more on the line. And so in between the arborvitae and that fence, it was pretty open behind where the proposed deck and pergola, the existing deck and pergola and proposed patio is. So I suggested that they do a planting plan to help adjust for the increase in impervious with the patio in lieu of, the deck that would allow for stormwater to go through the floorboards potentially. So they've come back with a planting plan with native plants, including 2 shad blow service berries, a couple shrubs, including high bush blueberry, inkberry holly, maple leaf viburnum, and some herbaceous plantings and grasses. So I will hand it over to the commission for questions before I continue rambling.
Excuse me, this is Commissioner Boda. I just had one of the children tried to sneak into the room. So, were there questions from the commission?
Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. I'll also just comment that the soil scientist did comment on the proposed project. In addition to flagging the wetlands, and he indicated that he didn't think that the project would have an impact on the water on the wetland, particularly with the addition of the additional plantings.
Commissioner Goklowski, can you pop up the pictures that were,
Yeah. Just give me a minute. All right, so here you can see the silt fence, or not the silt fence, you can see the silt fence, you can see the chain link fence, and you can see some of the flags that were flagged by the soil scientist. Looks like there's another one here. And then again, some of the pink wetland flags. And this is the area in here where, I thought it would be appropriate to put in some additional native plantings to help buffer the wetland area from the proposed activity. And again, here's the arborvitae, and this is the area where the planting plan is proposed.
Commissioner Bergman.
Commissioner Goklowski, so the proposed building is going to be on the inside of the fence, is that correct?
Yes, everything's going to be inside of the fence.
Who owns the fence?
The subject property owner.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the old pergola and deck that's being replaced. And you can kind of see there's a fire pit over here, which is where I believe kind of the hot tub is proposed. And I have one more. And this is where the deck has been removed, and this is where the patio is proposed. So in between these arborvitae and the patio is where the patio extension will be. And you can see that there is some vegetation over behind where the shed is. It's mostly herbaceous.
This is Commissioner Begemon. Is this a property where we think that there should be markings that say that it's a inland wetlands? I mean, as plants grow without, I mean, there's a fence marking most of it, but since some of it is on this side of the fence, is that something that would be helpful to this landowner and to the possible future landowners of the property?
You mean like the circle conservation or circle inland wetland placards that we have?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's up for the commission to consider and potentially, discuss with the applicant. I do think that for the most part, there's kind of this natural delineation with the arborvitae and the shed is it's kind of creating that line, but it is also very close to where the wetland is, so
Hey, this is Vin Bevilacqua. I don't understand what that question was. I don't know if I'm interrupting, but can somebody explain what she said? Just because I don't even know what she.
Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. So sometimes the commission will kind of have a condition of approval that signs or some sort of demarcation be put up to kind of identify that the wetland is there. So it's particularly helpful for future property owners. But it's also helpful, if you have somebody else potentially like doing your yard work or somebody over, and there's different ways you can go about it, but the most common one is we have these small 4-inch round signs, and it says inland wetlands, and basically, kind of is an indicator that if you're going to go in this area, you should talk to the commission first.
Oh, if it's easy, Vinny, Bevilacqua, if it's easy, unlike this planting project was and everything else has been, if it's just a sign, you could put a billboard back there if you want.
So typically the commission will have them like every 50 feet or something like that. So it'd probably be like 2 of them, along where your plantings are.
Cedar posts or, something that,
Yeah,
it's not super disturbing. It's just a notice because
reminder.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think, having been on the commission for a long time, we see creep, whether it's, like knowingly and often really it's unintentional or the property changes hands. And so just to ensure that there's clear communication, those signposts have been really helpful.
Yep, Vinny, I'm fine with it.
This is Commissioner Boda. Do you want to look at the staff report? Are there additional questions from the commission?
All right, so not to stop anyone short, you can still ask questions if they pop up. But I'll start running through some of the conditions that were drafted. Initial erosion control inspection prior to land disturbance, pre-planting meeting, which is when we meet on site with the property owner and whoever's going to be doing the plantings to kind of go over, the plantings before they go in the ground, particularly if there's any slight modifications that need to be made to either species or location. So that way we can make sure we're all on the same page before things go in the ground. Final or planting inspection after the plantings have been completed, just to confirm that it's all been done, and final inspection after the project. Per revised plans and representation at the November 9th, 2023 meeting, the installation of the artificial turf has been removed from the application and is not within the scope of work approved by this permit. 3 plantings shall be planted as seasonally appropriate the same year as any of the work permitted by this permit is commenced. If work starts after the growing season has ended, then the planting shall occur the following spring. 4, I wasn't sure, so I stuck this language in. Planting shown on the site and planting plan sheet dated December 4th, 2023 shall be monitored and reports submitted by the end of the initial growing season and annually thereafter for, I put 3 or 5 years because those are the 2 options the commission usually uses when implementing this. Documenting at least 85% survival of the vegetation and control of invasive species. A bond shall be submitted to cover the plantings of the plantings and monitoring. Permit holder shall submit to the IW agent an estimate for costs to bond these items for review. After approval shall be submitted prior to start of work. Remain in place until documented success. Wetland scientists must approve any alteration to the planting plan. I might say wetland scientist or landscape architect must approve, because I know that this plan was done by a landscape architect and they should also be able to appropriately approve an alteration. And then the standard condition based on recent state statute change and standard conditions and general provisions of all permits. And then just as a reminder, the commission was talking about potentially adding in signs along either the wetland limit and or the planting area.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, what is the approximate size of the planting area that you're looking to monitor for 3 to 5 years?
Oh, that's right. It's an architectural scale.
It looks like about a 15 by 30.
You're better than me.
I'm looking at I'm basing it on the average size of the whole area.
Well, this is 12 by 20, the shed, so probably I would say
There was-
about 15 by 40-ish.
Okay.
This is
50
Commissioner
maybe.
Boda. Did you see in the bottom right, it looked like there was a scale?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's 1/8 inch equals a foot. But I don't know if my screen,
Yeah,
it doesn't always display it at 100%. I can
Right,
grab
so-
the paper file if you want me to.
Well, no, that's okay. I'm just trying to get an idea because, you're asking us to vote on a 3 or 5 year monitoring.
Yeah.
And
Well, so this is Commissioner Boda. I think typically the 3 years is not something that we start with. We start with 5 years with the possibility of reducing to 3, depending on the success rate. So I don't recall
Okay.
ever setting it to 3 to start. If the monitoring is successful after 3 and reports are being turned in on time, I think we have let the property owner move on, and we hold the 5 years when there's continuously work needing to be done.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I think the commission has had a practice of doing it both ways. However, I think lately the commission's been doing the later that you just mentioned of 5 years and reducing it to 3 if successful with it, on time for the 3 years. So yeah, I certainly think that would be within the past practice.
This is Commissioner Begeman. Thinking about that shed, Jamie, when you went out there, there's already an existing shed that's going to be doubled in size. So did you talk with them about managing the stormwater runoff from the roof there?
So that was not specifically addressed. As you can kind of see from their vegetation line, there is some more existing vegetation already behind where the shed is proposed. It's mostly herbaceous, but it's being left in a natural state already. So I did not suggest that they continue the planting plan behind the shed because there's already kind of an existing space there that's being left as is.
This is Commissioner Begeman, but in terms of runoff from the roof, is there any concern with sheet flow or anything going down the hill if there's a hill behind that, as there was near the arborvitae for erosion?
Sure, understood. Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, it is flatter back there. However, I suppose a follow-up question for the property owner would be, what is the shed proposed to be placed on? Is it going to be crushed stone? Is it going to be cinder blocks? What's the foundation going to be?
Vin Bevilacqua, I think they were doing crushed stone, from my recollection of talking with them.
So typically I've seen that the crushed stone will be extended out to the drip line of the roof. So that could be something that the commission could require as a permit condition if they thought it was necessary. Let me see. Trying to see if I have a photo that shows thought I had one that showed the shed, but I guess not.
I'll go out there and take a picture of it right now if you want.
But I think if the commission was concerned, that would be the easiest way to address, the impact of the water as it hits the ground.
Commissioner Goklowski, would one rain gutter, because that's a fairly large shed, Maybe a rain gutter installed on the shed, so the proper drainage could be handled.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I guess at that point I would then be concerned where that water is being discharged. Cause then you're concentrating it all to
One
a
area.
single spot. Unless like it was to be used in conjunction with like a rain barrel or something, but.
This is Commissioner Boda. So I think, the question was sort of put out about the water coming off of the roof, and then we would leave it to the homeowner to, put forward as part of their application, what they're looking to do instead of our trying to craft a solution. So, I think that Jamie mentioned we could put something in as a condition of approval. And then let the homeowner, I'm sorry, you said Vincent, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I didn't catch your last name because it's not on your screen. So I usually write it down and then I can hold on to it. But so that could go in as a condition, unless you have a particular objection to that. To the idea of putting in crushed stone as a base and then extending it beyond the roof so that it would dissipate the energy from the water coming off of the roof.
Yeah, definitely. Vin Bevilacqua. I think they were in addition to the crushed stone. That's fine. I think they were doing something like that when you addressed that for the other side of the plantings, where you said you needed mulch or something. Or I'm not too good with. I wish I had somebody here on with me, but I'm not too good with the words. And but they did whatever you said that needed to be done for the plantings. And if you said, hey, we're going to approve this, which would take a lot of stress off my back, and my wife yelling at me all the time about this project, I would do whatever just to get it moving forward and back to my normal life.
This is Commissioner Begemon. I think that if we said something along the lines of, as a condition that the shed is constructed it's assumed it would be constructed on a bed of gravel or crushed stone. And that then the crushed stone extends to a standard distance beyond the drip line, because there must be some sort of standard that they use when they create these, right? I don't know if that's a foot or if it's 6 inches or whatever it is, but there must be some sort of standard. I would think.
So I think, and Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I think another way the commission could address it to help make sure the condition addresses the concern is to insert, crushed stone shall be extended, to standard distance beyond drip line to address energy dissipation and ensure long-term stabilization of soils or something like that.
Yeah, Vin Bevilacqua. I know when the scientist came out there, he was saying that, hey, you already have a roof over here. You had, obviously a patio, but now I have a roof over the pergola. But he didn't see anything that was going to make any significant change to back there. And he sort of, stressed that to me and said, hey, the plantings are the biggest thing. This is the area you should do it, and that would help. And that's what I did. I got the most, I went and did a full on planting plan with someone that I think majored in that in college, I think she said, and that was like part of her degree of doing these planting plans. And as you can see, I can't even believe what she's putting back there, but I wish those blueberry plants were real blueberries, but whatever has to go back there has to go back there. And
it is real blueberry.
oh, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can eat them.
Oh, I'm excited.
The birds will probably get them first, but
We can help you with that one.
yeah, those blueberry bushes are nice. They're teeny little blueberries, but they're quite delicious.
Oh, nice. I'm excited. I was a little bummed at first, but
And again, this is Commissioner Boda, and then that would just need to be in addition to that crushed stone being added, it would need to be noted on an updated plan as well, I think.
sounds good to me. I don't know if I've been Bevilacqua. I don't know if anyone else was waiting to talk, but yeah, sounds good to me. But do I have to wait for now what month are we even in? The January meeting?
So that's, I think, so this is Commissioner Boda. The next question is if the commission is, based on the conversation and reviewing the staff report and possible conditions for approval, if there are additional questions, or if the commission is ready to move forward with this application or needs additional information.
So I don't want to cut anyone short, but I do also want to provide some additional information. Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So based on the things that have already been discussed, I think that there's been some very specific resolutions identified. So I think that potentially if the commission is satisfied with that information, the commission could act on this application. I also want to identify that I am 99% sure the commission has to either make a decision on this application, or they would have to request an extension of the time to review the application from the applicant. Yeah, 100% sure.
Jesus.
Commissioner Goklowski, at this stage of the game, I believe the applicant has been willing to work with whatever the commission is looking for. And I have no problem moving forward with a vote, but don't ask me to do a whatchamacallit, because I'm the newbie.
So this is Commissioner Boda. So do we, so that's one opinion. Do we have someone who is ready to make a motion? Does somebody feel differently about it?
This is Commissioner Begeman. I'm ready to make a motion unless anyone else is ready or wants to.
You've been doing such a good job tonight, Commissioner.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Goklowski. Okay, this is Commissioner Begeman. I make a motion that we approve Inland Wetlands 23-1002, 35 Beechwood Road, patio and shed construction with the proposed conditions in the staff report dated, can somebody give me a date? I don't see it.
12/11/2023.
Oh, yeah, 12/11/23. With the addition of the words landscaped architect in 4B. You might need to scroll up a minute, Jamie. 4B. Yeah, the wetland scientist or landscape architect must approve any alteration to the planting plan. And that in condition 4, it is the duration of 5 years. We'll delete the 3 or. And that we're adding a condition which would be number 6, I believe, if you could scroll down. Yes, number 6 would be a condition that this application will be approved, provided that the storage shed is built on a base of crushed stone or gravel, and that crushed stone or gravel extends the standard distance beyond the drip line to address energy dissipation and long-term stabilization of soils. And along with the standard conditions and general provisions of all permits.
Okay, Commissioner Begeman has made a motion. Is there a second?
Inland Wetland Associate Katie Blanchett, can you just, Clarice, can you just, read number 6 again so I make sure I get all the wording?
Yes. So it would be that the storage shed will be built upon a base of crushed stone or gravel, and that the crushed stone or gravel will extend to a distance beyond a standard distance beyond the drip line to address energy dissipation and long-term stabilization of soil.
Katie, are you good?
I am, thank you.
Commissioner Begeman made a motion. Is there a second?
Commissioner
Commissioner
Papantonis, I'll second.
And this is Commissioner Boda. I would add a friendly amendment that the condition is the inclusion of the wetland signs along the planting area to be placed approximately 50 feet apart, every 50 feet. And that those signs can be received from the wetland staff. Wetland office.
So that would be a condition 7, number 7.
Correct. Do you accept the
I accept
amendment?
Commissioner Begeman, yes.
And Commissioner Papantonis, do you accept the amendment? Commissioner Papantonis, you're muted.
Yes, I accept the amendment. Commissioner.
Okay, any questions about the motion?
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. I just want to clarify. So 4 is being selected to be 5 years. Did the commission want it to be the 5 years, possibly reduced to 3 language, or leave it as 5 years?
This is Commissioner Begeman. I thought 5 with possible reduction to 3.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Commissioner Papantonis, are you amenable to that change?
That's Commissioner Papantonis, that's how I understood it also.
Any other questions about the motion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Glukowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Meinson,
Commissioner Meinson, aye.
Commissioner Ormrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
and Commissioner Boda, aye. Congrats. One agency down.
Whew. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, happy holidays.
You guys too, everyone, guys, girls, everyone. Jamie, thank you so much. I don't know if I have to come see you or what I have to do.
You will get the permit in the mail and by email. And if you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to let us know.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a good holiday, everyone.
You as
too.
well.
Yeah,
See you
thank
later.
you. Okay, moving on. So inland 2310-03 has been withdrawn. Is that correct? All right, moving on. So we'll move on to inland wetland 2310-04, 37 Brainerd Road. And Jamie, will you set us up?
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. This application was for receipt at the last meeting. There are some outstanding comments which the project engineer is working on addressing. However, the applicant, I believe, is here because they wanted to kind of go over the plans with the commission to make sure that there were no additional outstanding concerns, so in the hope that the application can get reviewed as timely as possible. So I will screen share the plans and I'll quickly highlight some of the outstanding questions that are being addressed. So I'm gonna jump down to the grading plan. So this was before the commission, I want to say about a year ago, for a completely different project to split the lot in half and have 2 single-family houses. Now they're looking to keep the lot as 1 lot and build a single structure with 3 residential units. So they've got the 3 residential units, the parking in the front, and a couple of retaining walls to assist with the grading needs to accomplish what they're looking to do. So for the stormwater, well, I guess I'll jump real quick into a simple comment that was made that if it was the only issue, it could be addressed easily. The notes say retaining walls are less than 4 feet. I believe that there's a spot where it's 4.5 feet. So that should be consistent. And then one of the other concerns is regarding the infiltrator system. Originally, there were infiltrators proposed on the side of the structure to accommodate the roof drainage. And then there was a need to manage the stormwater from the driveway parking area. So the infiltrator was added to underneath the parking area. However, there's a couple of concerns regarding conveyance of water to the system. There doesn't appear to be a way for the water to convey into the system beyond the yard drain, which probably isn't sufficient to let the water from this area in because of the size of the area versus the size of the drain. And the roof leaders were proposed to go into the system as well, but the elevations of where the roof leaders are relative to the bottom of the system, there were some questions with that. So those are kind of the questions that I'm more concerned with as far as considering the application complete for tonight's review. And then another minor comment, which again, I think this one could probably be handled as a condition, but there's utilities that go through where the infiltrator is proposed, and there's some concerns with that, but it's my understanding that particularly with the sanitary sewer, they can make it one connection from the road to the building and have it split since the building will continue to be owned in common. So those, I would say the stormwater concerns are the bigger concerns that I have in regards to considering this application actionable. I have not drafted a staff report for this application at this time. But the applicant and their engineer are in receipt of the comments, and it's my understanding that they know what they have to look at. It's just going to take them a little bit longer to be able to make those revisions. So I'm going to jump back to the grading plan. So the question for the commission is whether you see anything else that you think needs to be addressed prior to the next meeting. I'll also comment that this drain here is remnant from when they had moved one of the infiltrators back here, and is a drawing area and should be and will be removed. So there is nothing discharging at this location. Yeah, if the commission has any questions and or the applicant is present. So if you want to hand it over to them for additional comments.
This is Commissioner Boda. So given Jamie's comments, are there questions that have arisen from the commission before moving on to the property owner, the applicant?
This is Commissioner Begemon. Jamie, can you just tell us I see the inland wetland flags.
Sure.
So we're in the 100 upland. Is that?
This line right here is the 100-foot upland review.
Oh, I see.
And then this line with the 3 dots is
Got it.
the extent of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is Commissioner Boda. We have someone for the property tonight. If you'd introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am Scott Santorowski, owner of 37 Brainerd Road. Me and my wife Lisa own it. Yeah, I mean, I guess we were going back and forth with the engineer and the town engineer on what he wanted. The roof leaders were a question for the engineer because I guess he couldn't see it because we didn't give an elevation plan. The leaders from the front of the house will go into the infiltrators in the driveway. The ones in the back, because of the grading, usually the leaders go into the ground and then the pipes go to the infiltrators. What my engineer proposed is the leaders would come down and go along the side of the building, so the elevation to have the pitch towards the infiltrators on the right and the left side of the house. He did have a storm drain in the driveway with a sump, and I don't know why he took it out and put a yard drain, but he's putting that back. The other comments from the town engineer was about turning it sideways and putting separate infiltrators for the leader pipes. Because I thought he assumed we probably wanted or needed 3 sewer connections and 3 water connections. I talked to Jennifer from the engineering today. She's really nice. And we're
Mr.
keeping.
Santorowski,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is Commissioner Boda. I feel like you're pointing at your screen perhaps, but your hand is totally in the
You can't
camera.
see
So
me
always,
pointing, right?
yeah, so all we see is your
meetings.
hand.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm talking with my hand with a pen. Yeah,
It seems like you're pointing at something. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, so in talking to her, we're gonna put the 3 sewers, the 3 drains for the the water in the house to the sewer, to the southeast corner of the house and run it out to the street there, so it won't be under, over, or even near the infiltrators. I think that was his concern. And the water's going to run in the same hole as the sewer, which that was another concern about how the water was going to be run to the street. And I've worked with the RWCA, the water company, regional water company, on a bunch of projects. And we're going to run the water and the sewer in the same ditch, as long as it's 18 inches apart and the water's 12 inches up, which the detail will be on the next engineered drawing. So that answers this question about that. And the other one was about, I think, and the permanent town pavement repair detail, which was on the original site plan that we submitted. I just saw it there before. So, I was wondering if you see anything else that you think could be a concern.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent, while the commissioners are thinking, is the intention to still have the roof leaders discharge conveyed to the infiltrator under the driveway, or will you be adding the infiltrators back to the sides of the building for the roof?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking to me?
Yeah, so I'll wait for your answer first.
Yeah, Scott Santorowski, 37 Branford Road. So they haven't come up with a plan yet. They didn't do it yet, but the plan was for the leaders to drain into the infiltrators under the driveway, and I guess it wasn't enough area volume for the roof leaders, or the calculations were off. So I think he was just going to adjust the H2O infiltrators in the driveway to compensate for the roof runoff and the driveway. And I think Johnny said something new. There's the leak off. There's no leak off from the driveway because the grading to the parking area goes out to the street. And that is what the engineer, John, from the town said that he recommended on the last email that we got.
Yeah, so I think there might be a couple of points of clarification. I don't know, maybe it's worthwhile for us to have like a three-way phone conversation or a meeting in the office with your engineer and yourself.
Yeah,
But so my understanding is, per the town engineer's comments, that the parking area will be managed with infiltrators under the parking lot with the overflow to be conveyed to the street. And I think that's based off of, I'm
Yeah.
not really sure, that was kind of an odd comment from Domain, but he did make it that comment. But I think the thought was that the roof drainage would be managed elsewhere. And part of that is due to the limited space under the parking area. And I think also the comment about having the overflow go into the town road. And the other concern would be looking at the grade, at the corner of Unit 1 where that roof leader is coming from. The
yeah,
finished grade there, it's like 109, 110, but the
yeah.
bottom of the infiltrator system is proposed to be 113. So
Oh,
you're piping it uphill, which,
Yeah, water doesn't flow uphill. I get
yeah,
it.
unless you're having the roof leader stop, like, part of the way down the building and going over the retaining wall. So I think there's still some stuff to be kind of cleaned up and thought through.
Yeah,
In regards to
the
that.
back corner, yeah, the back corners of the house, that is what Johnny from Nevis and Young planned, to stop up at the height so it could be sloped towards the infiltrators to the driveway, not necessarily go down to the grade. So it would be over the retaining wall.
Yeah, so you might have to look at, I mean, it's not really necessarily within the purview of the Inland Commission, but making sure that that's not going to be a trip hazard or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true.
Katie Blanchett, Inland Wetland Associate. I believe that one of the initial comments that John had was that you can't put drainage over the retaining wall. I think that was one of the issues we had initially, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he didn't want the stormwater to run over the retaining wall, but this would be in the pipe for the leaders. In a pipe over the walls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and when he had said that when he proposed putting infiltrators under the parking area, he was of the mindset that the infiltrators were going to stay. You were still going to have the infiltrators on the side of the Unit 1 and Unit 3, and then that's where the roof drains would go. He wasn't anticipating you putting the roof drainage into the parking area.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on that either until I got this plan back from Nevis and Young. So they might, I don't know what their intent is, but they're gonna redo it in the next week to 10 days. So they might agree and put the infiltrators behind the units for the roof runoff, which I thought was a better idea.
Yeah, so Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent, I think long story short, you might want to just have your engineer touch base with town staff to make sure that the revisions are going in the right direction, to help prevent any further delays and further revisions.
This Commissioner Begemon, so the water, the highest point is where the road is. The driveway starts and it's going to slope down toward the house, and where the infiltrators are in the middle, so to speak, of the driveway. So the water is going to be going down toward the house past that. So is there some sort of catch basin before the house that deals with water? Because I don't see that.
So
currently there's a yard drain right here.
But the water is Commissioner Begemon, but the water is going to go past that point, slope down toward the house. You're going from like 119 feet to 112 feet.
So Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent, it's probably a little bit hard to see, but the proposed 116 foot contour is here. So this will be the 116. So the parking area will essentially be, and this is 116.2, 116.2, 116.2.
Wow.
So it does kind of pitch towards this drain. And then ultimately this is 115, so from the drain.
Okay, Commissioner
It
Begman, so
would-
they're leveling the slope and making it go the other way to, okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah. And you guys should have received, I think they were sent out on Tuesday, so if you haven't received already, you should have revised plans soon that you can take a look at. You know, hopefully it won't change too much beyond kind of clarifying and addressing these stormwater concerns. You know, so that way you can take a closer look at the grading before the next meeting.
I didn't see that.
Okay, so this is Commissioner Boda. I think it sounds like we are waiting on some additional information, and unless there's anything else that the commission would like to share concerns about, we would continue this item until our January meeting.
Commissioner Armstrong, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
All right,
Commissioner
thank you.
Begman, sounds good.
All right, Mr. Standarowski, I thank you. This is Commissioner Boda. It sounds like there's still some work, and you should be receiving that soon. We will see you in January.
Okay, all right, thank
Have a
you.
good holiday.
You too.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Okay, we are moving on to enforcements, going back to 3A, which is 38 Howard Ave, notice of violation, retaining wall and associated activities. And Jamie can set the scene. And just as a reminder, this has been going on for some time, and there are some other things that are happening that are not part of our conversation. So just want to keep the commission grounded in our inland wetland and water course regulations. And that's where I just want to make sure that we keep our focus. So Jamie, if you would, just set us up of what we're looking at this evening.
Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. So in April, it was brought to the department's attention that there was some activity that was likely regulated activity being conducted. And on April 24th, 2023, a notice of violation was issued to 38 Howard Ave, identifying that it's come to the attention that activities which require a permit from this agency have been conducted on site. Activities include construction of a retaining wall, drainage modifications, and disturbance to the slope above the water course, which runs along the rear northeast side of the property. They were told to contact the inland wetland office to schedule a site visit, install erosion controls, and attend the May 11th, 2023 meeting. They did contact the inland wetland office. They did install erosion controls, and they did attend the May 11th, 2023 meeting. And in response to that conversation, a application was submitted. During review of that application, it became noted that some of the activity extended onto 34 Howard Ave. And since then, as of recently, the application was withdrawn. And so now the question for the commission is there additional action that the commission wants to take in regards to this notice of violation? In the withdrawal letter for the application, it was noted, requested that action on the enforcement be waited or tabled to the January meeting. I'm not entirely sure if that was resolved by being able to attend the meeting, but I think it was also in part due to new counsel and reviewing materials from the files. So I guess from my vantage point, the question before the commission is the high level question before the commission is there a violation of the inland wetland and watercourses regulations of the town of Branford? And is there additional action that should be taken in regards to addressing that violation? So yeah, kind of the two options I see, you know, assuming that the commission does agree that, you know, that there was a violation, would be to move forward with an enforcement order, which I would say should probably go to both property owners because they're both going to have to authorize the activity on their property. Or if the commission feels that there may be a violation, but that it's not necessarily a time sensitive issue, I suppose the commission could continue it to the January meeting, but.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, we visited that property at the time, and the property owners that, if I remember correctly, that the enforcement was given to, you gave them some, they had to install some silk fences, and they did do that, but I didn't see any other issues beyond that point, the silk fences. The other issues for the property have nothing to do with this commission, and they're trying to tie the two together.
So again, just trying to focus on the issues before the commission. So they did install the silt fence, and since the activity has occurred, there has been revegetation of the slope. So the bare soil condition has, you know, at least temporarily been addressed. The property owner at 38 Howard did have some professionals submit various reports, including Daverson Environmental and REMA, assessing, you know, what they thought, you know, level of impact to the wetland / watercourse. And, you know, there were some recommendations regarding plantings and whatnot. I mean, there is construction within 100 feet of a wetland and grading, and there was clearing. So, you know, I do think that there was activity that falls within the purview of the commission. As far as, you know, the immediate concerns of stabilization and erosion, further impact, if you will, I think those have been addressed for the time being. But, you know, there's still the unpermitted retaining wall and associated grading.
Commissioner Goklowski, when we visited the property, you know, we were concerned about runoff from 38 Howard into the wetlands. But on the same token, I personally observed other properties that had runoff from their properties. In fact, one of them had a pipe. What do they call the plastic pipe? Running from their property into the wetlands. So, I mean, at this stage of the game, I think we've, you know, they've addressed what, you know, you've addressed to them what needed to be done. They've done it. You've said the vegetation has started to grow. I mean, I would revisit it in the spring and, you know, see what's taking place in the spring. I mean, we can keep postponing this for months and months and months, and nothing's gonna change until the other departments come take care of their issues. Our end is I believe our end is done.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So I just want to speak to the observation of the pipe. And just because one property has something, and I'm not trying to speak to whether or not the subject activity would be permittable or not, but just because one site has a condition that wouldn't necessarily be something we would permit today doesn't necessarily mean that, just because one person is doing one thing doesn't mean the person has the right to do a different thing. So I think that pipe's kind of irrelevant to what's going on the subject site, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And really we should be sticking to the specifics of the activity and the commission's jurisdiction.
Commissioner Papantonis, didn't we have some kind of issue with the fill also? Because we don't know what's there.
There have been points raised by the environmental interveners regarding concerns of the fill material.
About this is Commissioner Boda, just clarification about the makeup of the fill, the placement of the fill, or the quantity of the fill.
Commissioner Papantonis, I believe it was the type of fill that was used. If I recall correctly.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I think it was a little broad, and I think it was mentioned a couple of different times. That they are present, I believe, if you want to extend the offer to have them address that question directly.
So this is Commissioner Boda. As we start to go forward with questions, I just want to also remind everybody that all comments and questions should be directed to the commission, and that we have several parties here, and those parties should not address each other, but address the commission directly. So Commissioner Papantonis, if you wanted to ask a specific question, please feel free to do that. If there are any concerns that folks want to address, they should be sure to do that directly to the commission.
Commissioner Papantonis, I missed the last two meetings, but I was at the site walk, and I do recall there being an issue with the fill, but I don't recall specifically what it was. I believe it was with the type of fill that was used, because I think it was unknown. And I guess I'd ask for clarification from, I think it was the petitioning party that had raised the issue. The intervener, one of the interveners.
Is the commission addressing my clients at 34 Howard Avenue?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, I believe they would, because I do recall seeing some comments and materials submitted by them regarding the fill material.
Attorney Ainsworth, this is Commissioner Boda. Could you answer that question, or would you be able to allow your clients to answer that question, and just that question very specifically, please?
I can do that. Thank you, Madam. I guess, are you acting chair?
Acting chair.
Okay.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. I joined late, so I'm.
Attorney Shansky, just give us a moment. I see your hand, and we'll come to you in just a moment. Just want to make sure that the Commissioner Papantonis's question is answered. And
I understand, and I beg your pardon for speaking further, but part of my letter was indeed a request to continue this matter because I am brand new on the case. And so in fairness to my client, that's a question that I've written down. Apparently there's access to an answer, but given the other observations that the commission has made, I would suggest this conversation could occur in January.
I'm prepared to answer the question.
Yeah. So before we answer that particular question from Commissioner Papantonis, that was a request that was made. There's a lot happening with these particular properties. As Jamie outlined, we have some revegetation, and the erosion controls were installed. There are some open issues. How does the commission feel about tabling this until the January meeting to give Attorney Shansky an opportunity to get caught up, as she has just stepped in as the attorney?
This is Commissioner Papantonis. My comment was meant more to that we not overlook that issue. Because I think it's something that, as I recall, it was a topic that was a hot topic at the last meeting that I attended, and you hadn't mentioned it, so I raised the issue just because I don't want it overlooked.
It's fair. It's Commissioner Boda. So I would put it again to the committee. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
This is Commissioner Begemon, and I think that we're not going to really get into the discussion of this property tonight, given the request to put it to next because of new council. So, and the answer, whatever it is, won't really inform us tonight. So to go further into discussion. So I'm fine with just waiting till January.
This is Commissioner Bodo, so that's two. Are there other commissioners who feel differently?
Commissioner Meinson, I'm okay to continue this to January.
Commissioner Goklowski, okay to continue to January.
And Attorney Ainsworth, any grievous concerns about why we would not table this until January?
Only because it's been going on since April, but obviously I'm here to give you information that you asked about. I am following the process, and my clients have been patient. They have attempted to participate in a proceeding that has gone on for a long time. They felt they had no choice but to go to court, which I do believe has broader jurisdiction than just the wetlands, and therefore has the ability to address all the problems that are occurring. And I think the fact that there's a broader set of problems is actually causing it to be difficult for us to address this through this commission. And that's with all due respect to you. I mean, you do have a certain authority that is not broad. And so we're trying to work with the process, but obviously we have some immediate concerns that need to be addressed, and we're trying to do that. So I'm going to follow the commission. I'm not going to force try to force the commission to go in any particular direction. Obviously, we have to work with you in the future, and I don't want to see. I don't want to burn any bridges, to be quite honest. We're dealing with something that's difficult on our end as well. So I can't say don't put it off to January, but we're going to address this in another forum. And I don't know what's going to happen when we get to your next meeting, because there'll be a court proceeding between now and then. But I won't offer any information that you don't want to hear.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Boda. I appreciate your flexibility and everybody's flexibility. I know this is an arduous process, and we do have a very narrow purview. And so I think, especially with things that are happening outside of the commission and our purview, that I tend to agree it would be better for some of those things to play out. Attorney Shansky to have an opportunity to get grounded in all of the findings of fact and revisit this with new information in January.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. I think that makes sense. I guess one question I would have, assuming that that's the way the commission moves forward, is is there anything that you want staff to prepare for the next meeting? Kind of knowing that we're, back to focusing on the notice of violation, as far as future considerations. So I guess one thought would be, would you find a timeline helpful? I tried to summarize some of the points off the top of my head. I could try and compile a list of the things that we have had, various experts touch base on. Is there anything like along those lines that the commission would find helpful? And of course, I would try to get these documents prepared well in advance of the next meeting, so it could be distributed to all parties.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think that would be really helpful. I think the timeline with findings of fact that we have, as well as the specific questions that the commission needs to answer with respect to what has happened on this property, just enumerated. I think that would be very helpful. This has gone back and forth, and there are a lot of documentation, and some of the emails even, they have multiple dates on them. So it is quite webby to make sense of. Other commissioners have any specific requests of staff? Okay, hearing none, we will continue this to, is that January 16th?
January 11th.
11th. We will continue this to January 11th and wish everybody happy and safe holidays. And thank you for your time and for hanging out with us again until 9:30 at night.
Thank you for your cooperation, and happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are on enforcement notice of violation, cease and correct 220601 20 Huntington Drive, regulated activities without a permit. And Jamie, will you set us up with the status?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I got an email from the property owner indicating he would be here, but don't believe he is. So nonetheless, I think we should try and move forward. So I'm going to start off by pulling up review notes that I had prepared for the last meeting. It was super late. We basically tabled the item because the property owner wasn't present. So I believe this is from July. So we've kind of been going back and forth a lot with this property. There was some tree clearing, and then there was some pushing of tree debris into the wetland area. And he was ordered to remove that material and restore the disturbed areas, and come up with a planting plan for adjacent to the wetland area. So the items that were outstanding is the wetland edge must be redelineated by the wetland scientist because the flags got removed during the debris removal. That has been done. On-site meeting shall be scheduled with the wetland scientist, owner, and inland wetland agent to review and discuss the extent of material removal. That first part has been done. The condition of the disturbed slope along the western property line shall also be reviewed and steps for stabilization discussed. The final plan for slope stabilization may need to be reviewed by the commission. I'm gonna see if so since I'm sure you're all not familiar off the top of your head with what the site looks like, this is 20 Huntington Ave. The on-site wetland probably approximately follows just inside of where this 80-foot contour is, which is the red line. And then there's off-site wetlands, which are certainly, man-altered, but wetlands nonetheless. And then you can see that there's kind of a wooded hillside. This wooded hillside, most of those trees have been removed, and it's at this point now a regraded slope because there were concerns regarding the steepness of the slope from activities associated with the tree removal that is covered in lawn. So the final plan for slope stabilization may need to be reviewed by commission was in regard to this slope here, which slopes down towards the wetland offsite. Signs must be reinstalled on appropriate signposts. So there were signs were installed on those wooden stakes that surveyors use to mark out, different aspects of the site. I did get some pictures from the property owner this evening, showing them on those green T-posts. So I think that's likely in good shape and can be confirmed with a follow-up inspection. The 28 shrubs per the approved plan prepared by Soil Science and Environmental Services, Inc., dated August 2nd, 2022, shall be planted along the redelineated wetland edge after the meeting in item 2. That has been completed. I've had the pre-planting and post-planting meetings. 5 is completed with the exception of, being on site and confirming that all of the posts have been swapped out. And then 6 is the updated survey with the wetland delineation shall be submitted, or an update as to when it will be submitted by. So, I was told initially that the survey should be ready the first week of December. I've gotten this latest update. Survey company had to reschedule with me twice, and so I'm still waiting for them to get this plotted and get me the final. I'm hoping to have it in a few weeks. And then you can see some of the pictures with the T-posts. I'm not sure if this is an extra one or one that fell over. Based on the spacing, it almost looks like it's an extra one. And then you can't really see in his pictures the plantings. But I do have some pictures of from when I went out from the post-planting inspection. So this is the hillside. As you can see, it's now lawn. But it is fairly stable. I think the lawn's actually a bit better established at this point. It grew in pretty well once it was regraded and seeded. You can see there's, a couple of trees left, but for the most part, it's been opened up. This is the rear pond on the offsite property. And then the wetland on site starts up here. So you can see these were the old posts that the signs were on. And you can see, if you look closely, the shrubs that were installed. So he did have all the shrubs installed. So the outstanding concerns are the updated as-built or updated survey, and whether the commission has any further concerns regarding that slope condition, or if you're satisfied with the condition that it's in now, in regards to what it was and what it is. And the fact that this is a cease and correct order. And then also the approved planting plan, the report that the soil scientist did also recommended having 3 years of maintenance, managing invasives and any sort of volunteer tier plants that would compete with the planted plants, basically maintaining those plantings for 3 years to make sure they establish to a point where they can continue to persist on their own. So there would be that ongoing requirement. So long story short, does the commission want me to hold off on putting this on the agenda until I get the updated survey? Do you want me to, if I get the survey and I'm satisfied with it, keep it off the agenda? And if I don't get the survey by a certain date, stick it back on? And again, do you have any further concerns with the slope, or are you satisfied just having it stabilized?
Commissioner Gopowski, Jamie, when were these pictures actually taken? Just recently?
These pictures were taken November 3rd. So,
Okay, so
based
they're
on the weather we've
fairly
been
recent.
having, I think that it's grown in a little bit better.
So it's recent, so it is showing some, so hopefully by spring it'll be cuttable.
Yeah, and they did kind of touch up most of the silt fence when they did this work. You know, at the base of the silt fence where it's most important, it's intact. Especially for, you know, how much vegetative cover there is at this point. So I don't have any immediate erosion concerns.
You haven't seen it since this weekend's intense rains, have you?
No.
I'd be curious how those that vegetation held up. Are there other thoughts?
I have driven by it since I took these pictures, and it has filled in a bit more. These pictures were taken November 3rd, so it's had about a month of what for the most part has been fairly mild weather. We do have the property owner joining us right now. Just so the commissioners aware.
Are there other questions from the commission? Thoughts about the items Jamie enumerated?
Commissioner Gopowski, at this stage of the game, if Jamie feels comfortable tabling this issue and doing a review of the plan when it's available to her within a reasonable period of time, I see no problem with Jamie making a decision and then letting us know what the decision, the administrative decision is going to be.
Folks feel similarly different?
Commissioner Mengton, I agree with that. I'm okay with that.
Commissioner Boda, I think I would just ask that you get a more solid date from the property owner about when they're scheduled for.
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So the owner has joined us. Mr. Mirage, do you have any update as to when the survey should be available to you?
And Mr. Mirage,
Yes.
This is Commissioner Boda. Please just state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. It's Bobby Mirage. The address, well, my home address currently is 254 Brushy Plain Road in Branford, Connecticut. So the update for the, I apologize, Commissioner, for getting on late. Unfortunately, I had an appointment that ran over. But in any event, as far as the survey goes, unfortunately, I had it scheduled with the company. They canceled with me twice. And then unfortunately, my schedule couldn't match to theirs after that. So they recently got in there to do the, to observe it and do whatever they do. And so I was told within, 3 to 4 weeks, I should have definitely, or they said closer to 3 weeks, that I should have that delineation on the, on the survey. And then As far as I saw on the thing, the post signs or whatnot, I just want to let everybody know that I was able to have that done today. Unfortunately, my guy got out, he was able to get out there around 4:30 today. I sent the photos to Jamie. Of course, it was a little bit later. And so that's been done. So the part I'm working on now is getting that, the survey. So again, they've been contracted. They were able to finally make it out with me, and they should have that within, about 3 weeks or so.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Raj. So this is Commissioner Boda. It sounds like when that survey is ready, we can take a look, and maybe we also revisit in the spring as the plants are coming in, just to confirm.
Absolutely. And I just also spoke with the company that did the whole area there. And unfortunately, I guess it was a little bit later in the season, so it was a little, the grass established partially, but there are some patches and stuff. And so what they said is that they've already put in writing that in the spring they'll be out there to follow up with the plantings and also reseed. And that way we get a thicker growth in that area.
Sir, this is Commissioner Boda, just checking. Are there any concerns about the slope replanting? And that's not because it was treed before, and now we have grass, and so we're talking about temperature change, light change, etc.
This is Commissioner Bergman. I was thinking the same thing, but it's kind of like water under the bridge at this point, isn't it? If we didn't come up with that solution to begin with.
So Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. So as indicated in the letter, it said that it may have to be reviewed by the commission. And I'm just going to pull up the original plan that was prepared by the property owner's soil scientist. So the commission didn't come up with this recommendation. It was the property owner's recommendation. So I think there's room for the commission to decide if this addresses that point. So 1 minute. I'm in the wrong one. I am.
Wow. Jane, this is Clarice Begman, Commissioner. While you're pulling that up, Jamie, how many trees were taken down?
Honestly, I'm not sure. It was taken down. They were taken down slowly over a couple of years. So 1 minute. Let me pull up this photo out. So this is the wetland area here, looking towards the street, and this is the house. So you can see there were this is a little bit further back. So like these trees are still here. This is not really the best picture, but here we go. This is the house and this is the hillside. So, I mean, most of these are gone now, but a lot of them were in bad shape. A lot of them were and leaning.
I don't know. So essentially, I just wanted to, and again, just to kind of let you guys, because I know, you guys don't know but just to be transparent, as you see there were about maybe 5 or 6 trees, which we had to take down, which they weren't taken down. They were essentially 2 of those trees, when I was, when we were doing work in the area, they literally fell and they were all rotted from the inside. There was a tree in the front that I'm not going to lie, that one was healthy. It was like towards the street area. It was just, again, and I'm not going to lie, but that one was healthy. The rest of them, like, for example, there's one right near my house there, as you see the roofing. During one of those storms, it actually fell over onto my roof and damaged my roof. And so that one basically split in half as well. It's the one that's kind of like, there's no way for me to indicate, but between the one right next to the house, it looks like it has basically from ground up, leaves. So it was a healthy one, but unfortunately during the storm, it actually fell up. And I have photos of that I can send Jamie as well, because I took them before I took it down. And that one essentially, again, fell against my house, broke my roof. The other ones, like I say, were very rotted out from the inside. You can see there's even one there that I even left. I didn't take it out, but it's very barren. Like it's just kind of like you can go to the site and see there's still some up that are just, but the reason I didn't move those is because those never actually like broke or fell. Mainly the ones I took down were the ones that were kind of like hazardous, that had already fallen, or, you know, they were on the verge of it because they were all rotted out. But again, you know, Jamie, next time if you go on site, I can show you there's still some there that are literally producing no leaves. They're just basically rotted out and barren. But I left those because they hadn't fallen. And I even had one fall into my neighbor's yard, and I don't know if you remember, Jamie, they were calling on me consistently because it was a big tree. It was a thick tree, and it fell into their yard, and I had to kind of like get an excavator to move that thing. And, you know, chop it up in pieces and get it. So that wasn't even something that I took down. That was something that fell over during one of those storms. So, but again, I tried not to touch, you know, anything that was kind of like healthy. I like trees actually. So, you know, but yeah, a lot of that stuff on that mountainside was very rotten. You know, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up based on the photo like you were seeing there. So I could just, you know, so you could have some kind of history on it.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. Yeah, and I did see that there was a tree that was leaning on the house at one point when I went out there, and I think that was the second tree to have done that. But or leaning towards the house anyways. But the language that I think the commission's looking to see if it's addressed is number 5 in this report. It says consult a professional landscaper to determine if any topsoil is necessary on the fill slope on the western side of the property, and establish native, non-invasive herbaceous coverage to provide soil stabilization. Also, the landscaper should develop a plan to best remove the invasive species, particularly mugwort, from the slope. So the slope, I had some concerns with it. They were addressed. It was regraded and topsoil was brought in to establish the vegetative cover. And if it's going to be maintained as lawn, that's going to address the mugwort problem. So I don't know if the commission has any additional concerns, but I just wanted to make sure that was addressed, so it was not an outstanding question. Because it does look quite different, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong, but it is quite different. I mean, he still has some homework with the plantings in the rear, and, you know, making sure that there's full coverage of the lawn, assuming that that's satisfactory to the commission. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think so. This is Commissioner Boda. I think that we're going to be seeing you again anyway as you continue to get in the words are starting to slide out of my brain right now. The surveyor comes out, and so I mean, I would look back at that report, and it does talk about shrubs, and so particularly in just adjacent to the wetland area, you don't necessarily have to have tall trees, but if there were trees that were providing some kind of canopy, then you can, and also they help to keep back some of those invasives. It's worth revisiting that planting plan, and we'll be seeing you. It sounds like, I don't know, maybe February. I don't know that we need to revisit this in January.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I definitely think February makes sense given the time frame for the survey. But just to clarify, because the report talks about shrub planting plan, but that's adjacent to the wetland on the subject site. Are you talking about additional shrub plantings, or are you talking about those shrub plantings?
That's those, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay.
So so I know I'm pretty sure, and I think Jamie had seen them, I know I paid him to do the shrub plantings around near and adjacent to the, to the wetland. I think you're talking about the 28 shrubs. Is that the one we're talking about, or?
Yes, the shrubs
Okay.
to the rear of the property. So the
Right.
report also mentioned maintaining those plantings for the first 3 years to make sure they're not, overgrown and outcompeted by invasives or other vegetation. But the thought process that after 3 years they should be better situated to continue to thrive on their own without additional care.
Gotcha. All right.
So that's what Commissioner Boda was talking to. And then the other outstanding item is confirming that all the signs have been replaced and that we've got final stabilization with the vegetative cover on that hillside and getting the survey with the wetland delineation submitted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I will say probably aim to have this on the February 8th agenda with maybe a little bit of leeway if needed. The homeowner can discuss with staff.
Sounds good.
Hopefully it will be good then.
Yeah. This is Commissioner Boda. Thank you, Mr. Mirage, for joining us at this late hour.
Oh, no, thank you guys very much.
So, moving on, we have 72 Parish Farm Road, and it sounded like 72 Parish Farm and 21 Brainerd. We maybe.
You want me to quickly take the wheel for these two?
Yeah, maybe these are moving.
Yeah, so 72
January.
Parish Farm Road. I've heard from the property owner, and he is with us. So he has hired Criscola Engineering to complete a site plan and would subsequently be submitting an application. Criscola Engineering does have quite a backlog of work. So based on discussions with them, I recommend a deadline of February 21st to submit the application by, so that it will be for receipt at the February 22nd meeting. I think that this is reasonable given the fact that the property owner has been responsive to the notice of violation. He did hire a soil scientist who did come out and flag the wetlands, and the disturbance that has occurred is probably roughly about 80 feet away from the wetlands. The slope, the disturbed area has been seeded and is stable, and there are erosion controls at the toe of the slope. So I don't have any immediate concerns that would make it unreasonable to have that revised deadline. So that's my recommendation to the commission. Another thing tabled to February, unless anyone has any concerns.
Commissioner Boda, thank you. Jamie. No objections, we can move on to 22-1201 and 23-0901.
So 21 Brainerd Road, I don't really have an update for the commission. I have to admit, I've kind of put this on the back burner a bit, waiting for what would happen with in the courts. And my understanding is that there's another court date set for January 16th. So in my understanding of some of the discussion or items that might happen in regards to that hearing, I would recommend the commission table further consideration to after that, to either the January 25th or February 8th meeting.
February 8th sounds great.
Okay, so I'll send a follow-up to the property owner outlining such.
Okay, 11, as Commissioner Boda, 1151 West Main Street, Inland Wetland 19-1101.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. So since the first monitoring report, it's kind of come to the attention that the wetland creation area is not functioning as designed / intended. And so at this point, the commission has been looking to either have it revised as needed to have that, correct that function, and or potentially have more information on, if that's not possible or whatever for the commission to consider. And then the commission also needs this year's monitoring report. So I was hoping to have some materials for this meeting. I don't have anything. However, John Smits is here and I think has some level of update for us. So
Thank you. Yeah, again, John Schmitz with BL. So I was involved originally with this and BL when we designed the original project through permitting and construction. My role with the project ended with when Aldi's and Chase Bank opened. And today I was asked to sit in on this meeting and kind of just address the commission regarding this. So I was briefed on what's going on and can attest to what Jamie said about the wetland creation area. I know Eric Davidson is involved with it and is looking into how we can improve the area. I think that at this point, some of the options we're looking at are, is it possible to somehow redesign the creation area to make it work better, or if that's not possible, other options as far as, restoration or enhancement of the adjacent wetlands, or even the upland review area around the existing wetlands in the back. So I think we're kind of, everything's on the table at this point to figure out how we can best get a solution to the issue. If we can't get productive wetlands there, then what's the next best step? And again, it could be enhancement, invasive species removal in the wetlands, could be upland review area enhancements, but we're starting to look at it to now. And I just wanted to address the commission to let you know that we are starting to look into it. And I think we'll be having some more conversations with staff in the in the coming weeks and months. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
So to jump ahead of all the commissioners, I think the number one thing would be making sure we get this year's monitoring report sooner rather than later. And then as far as I understand there's a lot that's being looked at in trying to make sure that, future efforts are best placed. And obviously nothing's going to be done this time of year, but we would ideally want it to be implemented, reviewed, approved, implemented in the spring. So is there kind of a timeline as to when you'd be submitting further documentation for the commission to consider?
In the conversations I had earlier this afternoon, we didn't mention the monitoring report wasn't mentioned. So that's kind of new to me. I didn't realize you were still waiting for that. So certainly tomorrow, my first order of business will be to look into that and see where it is and if it can be provided, immediately, or why it hasn't been provided. So I'm going to certainly track that down. And then again, I think the plan is to get something to you. Obviously, with the holidays coming, I think it would probably be in some point in January where we could come back and let you know where we're at and some activities that we might be able to do as spring approaches to to rectify the situation. So I think, like I said, we're not going to be planting anything, in the next couple of months. So it gives us some time to formulate a plan.
This is Commissioner Boda. So Jamie, if we're having two meetings in January, I would set this to one where we can address it earlier in the evening for sure. There's a tremendous amount of documentation that goes back with this. And I think in addition, while there's some language that's been included in the correspondence about the initial permit, I think it would be helpful to have some of the conditions of approval that list in this, the Dropbox file, so that we can see exactly what the commission required around this, the mitigation area.
This is Commissioner Begemon. Has Is there going to be any investigation as to why those plants aren't growing? Has there been a change in the wetland itself? In other words, because it doesn't seem to make sense to go and try the same thing over again if there's been a change that means we need to do something else.
Again, John Schmitz. My understanding, again, I have to look into it a little bit more, but my understanding is that it's an issue that the elevations. So what we did initially was to try to expand an existing wetland area and grade the adjacent area down low enough where we thought we were into the water table to then plant plants, or at least maybe not put them below the water table, but get the ground level low enough where the roots were into the groundwater table. And so that would help. And my understanding is that either the groundwater table has changed or we're just not low enough. And there's issues in the area that are environmental issues, but they're environmental issues from a what we call like a dirty dirt end of environmental work. So meaning that the site is under an ELOR, environmental land use restrictions, due to contamination in different areas of the site. And some of that pertains to the back of the site where there's, I think there's some concrete bituminous material that were buried years ago. And so there's, I think, some issues with getting into that material that's currently under some of the existing wetlands. But there is water there, and there's thriving wetlands that are back there today. And again, we were trying to expand that area to create productive wetlands. But my understanding is it's a groundwater table issue.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent, just to expand a little bit on that, I did ask that be considered, that point be considered as any request to modify what was approved, certainly, because basically be looking for a permit modification, and it's not worth redoing the same thing over and over again if it's not going to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. We did get an as-built recently of the wetland creation area. The extent is a little bit off from what it was supposed to be. It's a little bit smaller than it was supposed to be, but not drastically so, but it is smaller. And the elevations appear to be a little bit higher than what was proposed, but we're talking less than a foot. So I don't know that that's in and of itself making any change. I'm not a professional in that capacity, so yeah.
Commissioner Begamon, and so going back to that idea of not knowing where the groundwater level is that something that is being planned to be investigated, or?
Yeah, again, John Schmitz, I can't answer the question. Because it may have already been investigated. My understanding was that was the reason given to me why some of the plantings weren't taking, was based on the groundwater elevation. So I don't know if an investigation was already done and that's how they came to that conclusion, but certainly look into that some more. I know that as they were doing it, there was a lot of it during the creation of those wetlands, there was, micro pools and things of that nature that were developed in the field. The exact plantings where they were placed was done, in the field. But so, yeah, I can't answer the question of how that was determined or if we need to investigate it some more.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think, Mr. Schmitz, it sounds like you have your hands full with a new task, an old task that is new again. Look forward to hearing additional information from you as you uncover what's going on and what could go on. I, in speaking for myself, would again just like to make sure that you're very mindful of what was permitted and the intent behind the permit, and that really is, for me at least, the goal. And would be hard pressed to shift to a very different outcome So they are in the regs as alternatives, but they are certainly less desirable. So just keep that in mind as you're uncovering.
Understood. Yes.
All right. Anything else? We good to move on
No,
at
thank you.
at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Okay, 7B, draft meeting procedures for review and consideration at 10 p.m.
Yes. If you want, we can table it, but it's up to you guys.
I wonder about so if the idea was that these meetings don't run late, we're 3 hours in, and can you sum up very briefly what is the purpose of this particular bullet, and if it's something that we can
Sure. So the purpose of this bullet was to try and help as we move into 2024 and meeting twice a month, help create a process where things are being discussed in the most time-sensitive way and helping to keep the meeting shorter, hopefully, ideally. So it's kind of outlining that change and adding language regarding timing for submitting an application and whether applications for receipt would be discussed at meetings. I just put this in the Dropbox today because I was waiting for town council to take a quick look at it. So if everyone would prefer, we could, you guys can take a look at it and it could be discussed at the next meeting. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact the office, and either Katie or myself can, talk with you about it and see if there's anything we need to tweak. But
this Commissioner Boda, is it set up in such a way that we could respond with comments directly in the doc itself?
So in the Dropbox, it's a PDF, but if you want, I suppose we could send it out as a Word document. I would just ask that if you have any comments or revisions, you just send them to staff. You don't send them to the commissioners. Just that way, any correspondence between commissioners is done at the meeting.
Yeah, that's fair. So then it doesn't matter. Then the PDF is just fine because you can always copy and paste text and drop it into an email and be like,
what do you
mean?
What
does this mean? Or, what do you mean? Or change this to that. Where's the comma? This comma doesn't belong here.
Yeah, and certainly if the commission were to adopt, something along the lines of whatever it becomes, we would plan to publish that to the website so that hopefully applicants will see it before they come to us and not be surprised.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So that'll be available. You'll email that out then?
I can email it out to everyone.
And maybe it also lives in the Dropbox somewhere.
Yeah, but it's easier.
When given an option, take them all. No agent approvals at this time. Woohoo.
Still no agent approvals.
No correspondence and announcements?
Nope.
What? All right. So happy holidays, everybody. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Commissioner Begeman has it. Is there a second?
Commissioner Papantonis, I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Papantonis. Oh my goodness. All right, questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Have a wonderful holiday. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.